With Chainsaw Man chapter 186, we kick things off with a calm before a storm. Pochita is standing there, taking in the scenery, 1 second, and then the next breath he's gone, completely vanished in the blink of an eye, and the aging devil lets it be known that Chainsaw Man is coming for them, and we need to get ready because in less than a minute he's going to be there. And this just shows you how desensitized, how desperate, and how frightened the world has become when it comes to Chainsaw Man right now, especially when it comes to public safety. You have all these fake Chainsaw Mans, they're running around, they're causing chaos, a war between public safety and the Church for Chainsaw Man, and these public safety agents are standing there unfazed by the news that one of the greatest devils to ever walk the earth is on its way to kill them. Things have hit that dire of circumstances that they are ready and willing to give up whatever is needed, even their lives if need be, to accomplish their goal and to carry out their contract with the aging devil. The aging devil basically lets it be known that he is taking them up on it from the moment that Fumiko tells him yes sir, which is our first time ever getting confirmation of the gender of the aging devil. But the way that this is done is the aging devil starts by taking all the nails from every public safety agent right there on the spot, causing them to drop down in pain and bleeding. The aging devil lets it be known this is a required sacrifice because his goal is to have enough power to rip open the mouth of Chainsaw Man and force him to eat him as a whole, which Fumiko reveals to us just how far they're willing to go and why. And as we'll touch on later on in the video, there's a lot to unpack with why she's this desperate. So that Nostradamus prophecy, it has them all spooked. She and the others are worried about the age of devils that will come true should the death devil emerge, and that they need to evolve mankind by using Chainsaw Man in order to prevent human extinction in the war that is coming. The whole time that this is going on, Denji is shown chowing down from within that realm that was created by the aging devil, eating more intestines in order to power Pochita up from a distance. And at this point it becomes an arms race. On one side you have Denji and Pochita trying to gain enough power to fight at full power, and on the other side you have the public safety workers and the aging devil are trying to power up the aging devil even further, which is a testament to how big of a threat the aging devil currently views Chainsaw Man to be. As the aging devil is taking the livers from the people at public safety and then taking their eyes, we see Denji pulling the ripcord as Pochita is rushing closer and closer towards the battlefield, and that's where we get the most interesting reveal and throwback to part 1 of Chainsaw Man. Pochita just reaches inside and throws his heart in the direction of the aging devil for our cliffhanger for the chapter. With how fast paced this chapter is, there's actually quite a bit that you have to unpack because the hidden stuff that's in the gradual powering up behind both sides of what they're doing is a lot of important details for character writing. So most notably, you have the continued strong character writing for Denji and Pochita, because this chapter just continues to build on what we have before, where you're seeing that despite the two of them not being able to speak to one another, they remain in sync with each other as two sides of the same coin. Most importantly, we see that they are locked in, and when they are locked in, they're extremely locked in, and they become even more unorthodox in terms of the execution, which makes it extremely hard to battle them. In this chapter, we see Pochita getting sliced to bits every other scene as the aging devil is powering up. He takes eyes, he takes nails, and then he attacks, and Denji just keeps eating the body parts he needs to off the instinct, knowing that Pochita needs the blood and the nutrients without ever being privy to the battle that is occurring. He just knows without knowing that they are in this together and he has to support his friend. Whereas someone else might have stopped, Denji just marches onward out of faith, knowing that Pochita is his sword right now, and he has to serve as both a sword and a shield for his friend, as well as the support of his friend, trusting in the end that everything will work out. On the other hand though, the decision to write Fumiko in the way that she is written in this chapter, it is interesting because we see she's willing to give herself in order to make sure that the aging devil can take down Chainsaw Man, which when you contrast that to what we saw from her in the past, like when Naruto was in trouble, Fumiko was the definition of trash. She didn't hesitate to run away and think about self-preservation. It's the duality of her character and the unlikability of her character that is making her rise up the ranks of Chainsaw Man characters. On one hand, you hate her, but it's moments like this where you just see the contradictions with her character, that it shows you the flaws in her character that make you want to go back and reread everything involving her, because it is clearly a funneling method going on, which is a writing practice where you take all these wide ideas that might seem unrelated at first and at times even contradictory, and then you start telling the story in a way that will eventually have everything come together, just as liquid that is poured into a funnel eventually exits through a single tiny point. This is what's going on with Fumiko's character right now. It's really fascinating to watch as the chapter is showing us two different but very similar sides to what it means to have faith in others. Fumiko and public safety are putting their faith in the aging devil even at the point of mutilation, and Denji is putting his faith in Pochita. One is doing so for their own selfish reasons, whereas the other is doing so both out of survival but also out the sincere trust in their friend to get them out of this situation, even if it means having to eat intestines and drink blood in the process. When you couple this with the messaging that we have from Mitaka's faith in Yuko and vice versa, and the way that that faith is presented in the Church for Chainsaw story, where you see the Chainsaw zealots and you see exactly where Fujimoto's taken this whole story of part 2. I love the messaging, in particular when it comes to faith that is being written here, because it is being approached from multiple angles, showing us as readers that with a topic like this, there's no cut and dry answer. There are several answers, and the further you go down the hole, the more complex they get. Now, one other thing of note here is that Fumiko, being the enigma that she is, it does make you wonder if maybe, just maybe, she has another reason for doing the things that she is doing, because we do have the Fami factor in all of this to consider, and Fami just happens to be missing in action yet again. We do know that one of the spiders that are involved in this sticky web that has been woven throughout the entirety of part 2 of Chainsaw Man just happens to be Fami. There's no way she didn't plan or account for any of this, similar to how she was the one right there with the falling devil before and the eternity devil before that. That plus the fear of the death devil's eventual arrival, it does make you wonder if, even though Fami's not shown in this chapter, if she is also making moves behind the scene, or if this is even more of something that it's a move that she's made herself, this entire situation, because you could argue the same thing that happened in part 1 of Chainsaw Man, it is repeating here. We spent so much of part 1 of Chainsaw Man under the impression that the gun devil was going to be the final boss. Everyone was so focused on that, yet the one who was most dangerous was revealed to be none other than Makima, and that was the one we should have been paying attention to the entire time. Fami very slowly been showing signs of being in that Makima role, even though she isn't the serial gaslighter that Makima had shown herself to be. But Fami is still someone who, if the story has made you forget about her in the last 2 chapters, then it's starting to feel like something a year from now we might be wondering out loud if that wasn't intentional if we go back and we look at this portion of the story. That's the only real thing to explain why Fumiko is so willing to go this far, to ensure that Chainsaw Man eats the aging devil, because it might be their plan to weaken the aging devil before removing the fear of aging itself, which part of the fear of aging is how it brings us one step closer to death. The idea that they're spooked by the death devil to this extent that they're looking for preemptive ways to get an edge, it is insane. It leaves big expectations for the reveal of the death devil if this ends up being the case. Thankfully, we don't have to wait too long for the next chapter, since the next chapter is out next week, so we can jump right into why in the world Pochita threw his heart at the aging devil, which, if that's not the ultimate finisher, then we're definitely going to riot. In the meantime, click here to watch more videos from Anime Explained to hold you over until the next chapter.